to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Deep Sleep Stories invites you to step softly into a harbor where snowflakes drift silently and the world seems to hold its breath. You close your eyes and imagine standing on a dock, wrapped in a warm coat, watching soft snow fall over quiet boats and still water. In this story, you will wander through a winter harbor at night, listening to the whispers of the sea and feeling the peace that comes with snowfall. Breathe deeply, let your shoulders relax, and allow the calm of this snowy scene to wash over you as we begin. The harbor sits in a sheltered cove, its water smooth and dark, reflecting the dim lights of lamp posts along the pier. Wooden docks extend into the water like fingers, each tied to them a row of boats, fishing vessels with nets neatly coiled, sailboats with their masts swaying gently, and small rowboats tucked under tarps. Beyond the docks, the village climbs a gentle hillside, its stone cottages and timbered houses blanketed in a layer of fresh snow. Chimneys emit thin threads of smoke that rise straight up into the cold air, and a church steeple rises above the rooftops, its bell silent for the night. The world is hushed, the usual creaking of ropes and the lapping of waves softened by the thick snowfall. Footprints from the day are already filling in, erased by the steady, quiet descent of snowflakes. Long before the present village existed, the harbor was just a natural inlet where the sea met the mouth of a small river. Early settlers recognized its sheltering shape and built a breakwater out of large stones to protect their boats from winter storms. They hauled granite from a nearby quarry on sledges and rolled the blocks into the cold water, constructing a curved arm that reaches out and hugs the incoming waves. Over the years, the breakwater has been strengthened and extended, and now a simple beacon stands at its end. A small steel tower with a green light that blinks every few seconds. This beacon is a friend to fishermen returning in fog or snow, guiding them through the narrow opening to safety. When the harbor is silent like it is tonight, the light continues its quiet pattern, unnoticed by most, but faithful. Thinking about the hands that laid those stones and the storms that breakwater has endured adds another layer of history to the snowfall. You stand at the edge and imagine all the winters this harbor has seen, each one adding its own chapter to a long, gentle story. Snowflakes fall steadily like tiny feathers drifting from an unseen hand. Each one is unique, a small crystal masterpiece that twirls and spins as it makes its way down. They alight on the curved hulls of boats and melt slowly, leaving glistening trails. They pile up along the dock rails, rounding sharp edges into smooth curves. In the lamplight, they glow like small stars, and when you tilt your head back and look up, you can see them coming from a gray sky that seems to go on forever. The harbor water accepts the snow with barely a whisper. Flakes dissolve as they touch the surface, sending out delicate ripples that quickly disappear. The sound of the snow itself is almost imperceptible, a soft hiss that blends with your breathing. As you stand in this world of muted tones and softened edges, you feel a deep sense of tranquility. The snow is like a blanket laid gently over the harbor, muffling sound and slowing time. The boats in the harbor rest as if sleeping. Wooden hulls lean slightly against their moorings. Ropes creak softly when the tide shifts. On a sturdy fishing vessel named Aurora, the deck is cleared and nets are stowed. A small wooden plaque bearing the boat's name glints through a coating of frost. Next to it, a sailboat called Whisper has its sails furled, canvas tightly bound around the mast. A row of lobster pots sits on the deck of another boat, their metal frames laced with ice crystals that sparkle in the lamplight. A narrow skiff is pulled halfway up onto the dock, its oars tucked under the seats, a dusting of snow on its worn boards. Each boat has its own history of journeys, storms weathered, and sunsets watched. But tonight, they share a common stillness. They seem content, snug in their berths, rocking gently as if breathing in unison with the tide. In a small office near the end of the main pier, the harbor master sits by a stove, a mug of tea warming his hands. His name is Thomas, and he has tended this harbor through many seasons. He knows each boat, each captain, and every nuance of the tides. Each night before turning in, he walks the docks to check the mooring lines, making sure nothing has slipped or frayed. Tonight he pulls his woolen cap down over his ears and wraps a scarf around his neck before stepping outside. His boots crunch quietly on the snow-covered planks as he moves from boat to boat, tugging on ropes, patting hulls, whispering to the boats as if they were old friends. He enjoys these nighttime walks, especially when snow is falling. The world is so quiet that he can hear his own breath and the distant call of an owl in the woods. He pauses to adjust a lamp, trimming its wick so that the flame burns steady. The light casts a warm circle on the snow, adding to the harbor's gentle glow. From the docks, you can see into the windows of the cottages lining the harbor. In one home, an elderly woman knits by the fire, her needles clicking rhythmically, a cat curled at her feet. In another, children press their noses to the glass, watching the snow fall in the orange light of a lamp, while their father reads them a bedtime story. In the bakery at the corner of the main street, the baker is up late preparing dough for the next day. The glow from his oven gives the window a golden hue, and the smell of rising bread mixes with the crisp winter air. A musician sits by a window with a violin, playing a slow, sweet tune that drifts out when he lifts the latch a little to watch the snow. Even though the harbor is quiet, life continues behind closed doors. Each home a small world of warmth within the larger snowy scene. Even in winter, the harbor is not without life. A few ducks float near the edge of the docks, feathers fluffed against the cold, occasionally dipping their heads beneath the water. A pair of gulls perch on a piling, heads tucked under wings, their feathers mottled with white snow. In the distance, the sleek head of a seal appears briefly above the surface, its whiskers twitching before it vanishes again beneath the water. Beneath the harbor, fish move slowly in the cold depths, scales reflecting what little light filters down. A harbor cat, ginger with one ear clipped, pads silently along the dock, leaving tiny paw prints in the snow. He pauses to sniff the air, then curls up in a coil of rope beneath the awning of a boat. He will spend the night there, his body heat warming the rope, his breathing in sync with the gentle rocking of the boat. The presence of these animals adds another layer of quiet companionship to the harbor, a reminder that life goes on even when everything seems still. The harbor is fed by a small river that meanders through forests and fields before widening into the sheltered cove. In summer, the river runs clear and swift, carrying trout and salmon into the salt water. In winter, it moves more slowly, some sections covered by thin ice. When the temperature drops low enough, frail sheets of ice form along the edges of the harbor, little plates that clink gently against the rocks when the tide moves. These thin layers catch snowflakes and hold them for a moment before they sink into the water. Children from the village sometimes walk to the river's edge to watch ice form and break, their cheeks red from the cold. They toss small sticks onto the ice and cheer when the sticks travel under and then pop up again. The river's quiet sound merges with the harbor's hush, adding a soft gurgle to the landscape. The meeting of river and sea is like an inhalation and exhalation, a mingling of fresh and salt water that continues year after year, season after season. The harbor's soundscape on this snowy night is subtle and rich. There is the soft hiss of snowflakes landing on water, the occasional groan of wood as a boat shifts against the dock, the distant bark of a dog somewhere in the village. The tide makes a gentle sloshing, like someone breathing in their sleep. When a light breeze stirs, it rustles through the dry grass at the edge of the shore and sets the rigging on sailboats chiming faintly. Every now and then, a bell buoy out in the channel tolls a muted note, its sound dampened by the snow, but still clear enough to reach the shore. These sounds do not disturb the peace. Instead, they weave together into a lullaby. Listening to them, you feel your own breathing slow to match the rhythm of the tide. The harbor seems to be speaking in whispers, telling stories of storms past and mornings yet to come. A short walk up from the docks stands the Harbor Inn, a weathered building with a shingle sign that swings gently in the wind. From its windows spills a golden light that cuts through the snowy darkness. Inside, a few patrons linger over mugs of hot cider, their voices low and comfortable. The smell of spiced drink and burning peat escapes whenever someone opens the door. On one wall hangs a map of the harbor and the surrounding waters, with small pins marking places where notable catches were made. The innkeeper, a woman with laugh lines around her eyes, wipes down the bar, humming a tune. Occasionally, she looks out the window, watching the snow fall, appreciating the quiet. In a corner, an old captain recounts the time he saw the harbor freeze solid, and younger fishermen listen, smiling politely, though they have heard the story many times. The inn is a haven of warmth, contrasting with the silent beauty outside. Seeing the glow from its windows reminds you that there are places of comfort nearby, even as you delight in the solitude of the snowy harbor. While the harbor sleeps under a blanket of snow now, in your mind, you can see it during other times of the year. In summer, boats crowd the docks, flags fluttering and children running barefoot along the planks. The water sparkles under a high sun, and laughter carries across the bay. In autumn, fishermen celebrate the harvest with a festival. Tables are set up along the quay, laden with bowls of stew, baskets of apples, and loaves of bread. Lanterns hang from lines stretched between poles, and music fills the air as villagers dance. There is storytelling and singing, games for the children, and hugs for friends who have been away at sea. Seeing the harbor now quiet and covered in white, you appreciate its restful state all the more. The snow is a pause between bustling seasons, a moment for everyone and everything to slow down and gather strength. There are stories told among the villagers about particularly heavy snowfalls in the past. One winter, the snow was so thick that it drifted higher than the sides of the boats. The harbor froze over completely, and people skated from one pier to another, their laughter ringing across the ice. Thomas was a boy then, and he remembers his father cutting a channel through the ice so that one small boat could reach the mouth of the harbor to deliver supplies to a neighboring village. The entire town came together, working with saws and axes, hauling away chunks of ice and singing songs to keep their spirits up. When the channel was complete, everyone lined the breakwater to watch the boat leave, cheering as it plowed slowly through the frozen sheet. Moments like these are part of the harbor's collective memory. When you walk along the docks tonight, the snow light and fluffy underfoot, you feel connected to those past winters. The stillness holds echoes of hard work and celebration, of challenges met and overcome. When he was young, Thomas's grandfather would take him down to the harbor during snowfall. They would stand under a lamppost, coats buttoned up, and listen to the sound of flakes landing on their hats. His grandfather would tell him how to read the weather by the way snow fell. The size of the flakes, the direction of the wind, the smell in the air. He taught Thomas to notice the small things, the subtle change in watercolor that signals the tide turning, the specific creak of a rope that means it needs replacing. Thomas loved these lessons, not because they were practical, though they were, but because they were moments spent together, surrounded by the quiet beauty of snow. Now, when Thomas walks his nightly rounds as harbor master, he carries those memories with him. Each step in the snow feels like walking alongside his grandfather again. These personal histories weave into the collective story of the harbor, giving the place its depth and warmth. During the warmer months, the harbor comes alive before dawn with fishermen preparing to head out. They arrive while the sky is still dark, boots crunching on gravel paths, voices low as they discuss currents and weather forecasts. They load their boats with baskets, nets, and insulated crates. The air smells of coffee and diesel, and the fisherman's breath hangs in the air as they tie on extra lines and check engines. When the first light of day touches the horizon, they untie from the dock, push off, and glide toward the mouth of the harbor. Engines rumble to life, echoing off the rocks. Wives and children sometimes stand at windows, watching their loved ones disappear into the glowing morning. For those who have grown up in the village, this rhythm is as natural as the tides. In winter, this activity pauses, giving the docks a chance to rest. Remembering these lively mornings as you stand in the quiet snow helps you appreciate the harbor's cycles, its busy times and its still times, both vital in their own way. Above the harbor, the sky is a canvas of soft gray and occasional patches of darker clouds. The snow seems to emanate from these clouds, falling in a steady dance. As the night deepens, the clouds begin to part. A full moon emerges, round and bright, casting a cool silver light over the harbor. The snowflakes catch this moonlight, each one sparkling briefly before melting on the dock or disappearing into the water. Stars peek through the gaps in the clouds, their light twinkling on the wet surfaces of boats and the mirrored water. The moon's reflection stretches across the harbor like a path, and you imagine walking upon it, each step causing ripples of light. The combination of lamplight, moonlight, and starlight creates layers of glow, making the harbor feel both grounded and otherworldly. Time itself seems slowed by this celestial spectacle, encouraging you to linger in the moment. Sometimes, in the heart of winter, sea smoke appears over the harbor. It happens when very cold air moves over comparatively warmer water, causing vapor to rise in ghostly tendrils. The effect is ethereal. It looks like steam curling from a giant invisible pot, swirling and drifting across the boats and docks. The smoke catches the light of the lamps glowing softly, creating an almost dreamlike scene. Thomas remembers once rowing out into sea smoke when he was younger. The world shrank to a few yards around him. Everything beyond that was hidden in mist. He said it felt like being inside a story, like the harbor existed in its own time for a while. Tonight there is no sea smoke, but the memory of it adds another layer to your contemplation. It reminds you that even the most familiar places can surprise you with moments of wonder when conditions change, much like the surprises that come when we allow ourselves to slow down and observe. In the houses surrounding the harbor, fishermen and sailors sleep soundly. Their bodies are accustomed to the rocking of boats and the unpredictability of weather, but tonight they rest on steady beds. In their dreams, some of them are back at sea, navigating through fog or hoisting sails in a brisk wind. Others dream of their families greeting them after a long journey, of children running along the docks, shouting their names. Thomas dreams he is young again, learning to tie knots with his father's hands guiding his. The harbor itself dreams too of summer breezes and the taste of salt on the wind. These dreams are gentle and kind, influenced by the rhythmic whisper of snow and water outside. As the snow falls, it covers the town, not just in white, but in a sense of safety. Everyone is held in a quiet embrace, sharing in the collective rest that winter brings. Occasionally, a traveler like you finds themselves wandering the silent harbor at night. Wrapped in a thick coat and a knit scarf, they walk slowly along the docks, their breath visible in the cold air. They stop to run gloved fingers over the rail of a boat, feeling the texture of frozen rope and wood. They listen to the quiet and find that it has a sound, a soft hum composed of their heartbeat, the tide, and the whisper of falling snow. They think about how different the harbor is from the busy city they came from, and they feel grateful for this moment of stillness. They remember nights in their own life when a pause was necessary, when things slowed down long enough for them to catch up with themselves. Here in this snow-covered harbor, they feel that pause physically. It seeps into their muscles and bones, inviting them to release tension and to simply be. As the night progresses, the harbor grows even quieter. Thomas finishes his rounds and returns to his warm office, leaving only the necessary lights burning. The lamps along the dock are turned low, their glow softening. In the village, more windows go dark as candles are snuffed and fires burn down to coals. The snow continues its steady descent, burying any last sign of movement. The boats rock more slowly as the tide shifts toward slack. The bellbuoy's tolling becomes less frequent as the wind dies. In this deepening quiet, the harbor feels like a place between worlds, suspended between land and sea, night and day, wakefulness and sleep. It is a gentle threshold where dreams are born. Eventually, even the snow tires of falling and the sky clears. The moon sets, leaving the harbor bathed in a faint pre-dawn glow. The village and the boats rest, covered in soft mounds of snow. You feel the calm of the harbor within yourself, a sense that everything is as it should be. As you pull the blankets around your shoulders and take a final deep breath, you whisper goodnight to the silent boats, the snow-capped houses, and the gentle breathing sea. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well and let the memory of snowfall over the silent harbor guide you into peaceful dreams.